I've gotten a taste of what it means to be privileged. Things
Mm.
that I would hear about all the time in the US, and it's like, man, like it's crazy.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Melanated Files. If you guys check out the screen, you'll see that something different is going on today, okay? This is the Black Experience Stories TV. All right, so I want you guys to be aware that we also have this arm of the Black Experience Japan. So this is the international arm. And if you guys are anywhere in the world, a Black person, all right, and you have a story to share, please reach out to us at info@blackxjp.com. Right? Today we have Rahmaan Phillip with us from the USA, residing in Vietnam since last year, right? He moved during COVID-19, right? So people are still moving, people are still traveling. So it's also possible for you as well. So we're going to get into Rahmaan's story right now. Right. Also, follow us on social media and find us on Clubhouse at the Black XJP. Rahmaan, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
All right. So tell us your story. Give us some backstory, your background, I should say. You came from the USA last year, right? Why the move to Vietnam? Why Vietnam of all places?
So I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada, and
Okay.
I have been a professional musician exclusively since 2010. And I just needed a change. And my girlfriend came with me with the idea to come to Vietnam around September 2019. And the country wasn't even on my radar, but she started to tell me things about it and how different the quality of life is, how much more affordable things are. So I just figured let me take a chance and see what it's about.
Okay, so she's Vietnamese, right?
No, she's American.
Okay, so she has been to Vietnam before.
No, she hasn't.
Okay.
She was doing a lot of research. She wanted to teach abroad and just
Mhm.
experience something different. So
Okay, so she did all the research. She discovered Vietnam. She
yep.
relayed the information to you, and then you fell in love with the idea, and then you decided to move.
Yeah.
Sounded
As
kind of
easy
like
as
me
that.
and sounded like me and my wife because I was the one that proposed Japan. All right, she never had any idea about this whole process and this whole thing. I know we've been here almost 5 years now, so it seems like you're in a similar vein there, right? So
Yep,
okay,
yep.
so what were your initial impressions of Vietnam before you touched down?
Well, my family is actually from Trinidad. So, I've been
Okay, okay,
there a bunch of times and um I wasn't, I guess, reluctant to try something
hmm,
outside of what I'm familiar with in the US. Um, and I always wanted to leave. I always knew that there was something more for me out there. And I
okay,
figured it, if nothing else, it's just a good starting point. So I really embraced the idea. I was excited.
okay, okay. So what has Vietnam been like so far? You never knew what this country was about. You finally touched down. Tell me about it. Because when I went to Vietnam, like the first thing that hit me was the prices. I was like, okay, the
Yeah,
prices can't be real. These prices
yeah,
can't be real. So tell me about your
man.
first impression.
So when I got off the plane, of course, it's beautiful. Coming from the desert of Vegas, it's green. I live right between a river and the ocean. It's all
Okay.
coastline. Um, get out, it's busy city, people driving mopeds everywhere. It looks completely foreign. And me with my American mindset, I assumed that everybody was gonna speak a little bit of English. I was so wrong. So I remember walking around and uh, trying to communicate with people, and I realized like, oh man, like I'm seriously like in a part of the world that has nothing to do with my culture. And at first, people were like staring at me, and that made me a little uncomfortable. Then I
Mm,
realized it's not because of anything bad. It's just because you don't really see 6'2" Black men with dreadlocks walking down the street every day.
okay.
Um, And once I got over the little culture shock after I'd say like the first 2 weeks, I've been in love with it. It's like you said, so affordable. Like you don't really need health insurance, for instance, because you
Okay.
could afford to pay for a doctor's visit. The food is amazing. It's so hard to eat well in the States. It's just so expensive. Rent
Mm,
is crazy cheap.
mm.
And overall, the lifestyle, there's just more of a cultural emphasis on well-being, like your soul. Yeah,
So tell me about your profession in Vietnam. What do you do in Vietnam? And also before even that, well, tell me that first, and then what was it like moving during COVID-19?
currently, yes, I'm teaching at an international school, and I'm also performing. I came
Okay.
out here. The plan was to just stay for a couple of months, and I was supposed to go back to the States and play some gigs, actually with
Mhm.
Lady Gaga and a few other acts.
Okay, okay.
And yeah, the time came around and the borders were closed, so we had to stay. So
Uh,
I came out here with like no musical gear. I had to buy a violin out here, buy nice clothes, and I hit the ground running, started performing a lot, got my name kind of out there in the town. And then I was approached for an opportunity to teach. And it wasn't what I was expecting, but luckily I did have experience teaching in the States.
mhm.
So it's been a true blessing to have that steady income. And Vietnam's economy really depends on foreigners. So the fact that there's just not a lot of native English speakers out here allowed me to have much more of an opportunity.
What was it like moving there, right, during COVID-19? What was the process like? Was it any different?
It was actually crazy because leading up to it, we had just started to hear about COVID. It wasn't really affecting the states,
Okay.
and we bought our tickets like in December, and we were supposed to leave on the 29th of February.
Mhm.
And a couple weeks before, like the situation started to affect America and started to get serious. So people were talking, but we didn't let that discourage us. We just said, we already bought the tickets. Let's just go. It may be a huge mistake. And then our flight got canceled 2 days before we were supposed to leave. But
Mhm.
luckily, we were able to get another flight. So we get here. Everything is still open besides the schools.
Mhm.
And then 3 weeks after we were here in March, there was a lockdown. And that's when things got kind of crazy for us because we didn't know anybody out here. Um, we didn't know who to get information from, what was going to happen to us, how they were going to start treating foreigners. And initially, there was kind of a stigma against foreigners because
Okay.
Vietnam has had very low cases of COVID. So they figured anybody else coming in may bring it there. But after the lockdowns, we had two lockdowns. After the second one lifted, um, there was no more stigma. Everything has been pretty much normal since.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah, initially it was crazy, but it seemed to really cool out, and it's been very nice experience out here after that second lockdown.
Okay, so how did you secure a job? So you said you secured gigs, right? So how did that
Mhm.
happen? Did you go to like bars or different places asking for an opportunity? Like, how did that come about?
Coming from Vegas, I've just always been a hustler. Like it's a very competitive scene as an entertainer out there. Um, So I figured, hey, I need to make something happen like right now. So I just immediately hit all the Facebook pages that I could, all of the travel groups, the expat groups, local groups, and just put a lot of my videos up there like constantly.
Mhm.
And I had people reach out to me, and I started getting gigs from that, and then eventually word of mouth spread around, and not a lot of people do what I do. Um, have the versatility that I do playing an instrument like the violin. So really new for the town. Luckily, I'm like probably the only person with my style who plays the violin out here. So yeah, I've been pretty in demand, which is a blessing.
Okay, nice. So what's your goal? What's your vision for the next, maybe, let's say, year? Because in COVID-19 times, man, we got to plan like we can't
Yeah,
plan too far ahead because the uncertainty is crazy. But what's your
yeah.
goal for the next year?
My goal for the next year is I want to keep on teaching, saving money, um, keep on making music. Yeah, really just saving money is the goal right now.
Okay.
Because if I'm able to do that, then when that next year comes around, I'll have the funds to do whatever I'm inspired to do. So
Okay. So
just
is
keep
your
doing what I'm doing.
so is your girlfriend teaching as well?
Yeah, and she has a funny situation because she's teaching US classes. So she works from like 10 at night to 4 in the morning.
Ah, so it's like she's teaching remotely.
Yeah,
What was the process like securing a job, right? You know, you went to Vietnam, all right?
yeah,
You already made some connections before arriving. So when you touched down, you had some opportunities to perform, and then an opportunity presented itself for you to teach, right? So what was that like transitioning to teaching? Someone told me that, look, once you show them a US passport, you get the job. So I don't know how true that is. Walk us through the process.
yeah. I mean, for the most part, because as long as you like speak English, it's pretty easy to get a job.
Okay.
Um, my situation was interesting. I got a message on Facebook the day that the lockdown ended, and I show up to this school. I didn't really know what to expect, and it's like a really nice school, and I'm just like, yeah, there's no way that they're gonna hire me. Um, and I ended up getting hired that day, and the next day I'm in a classroom teaching.
Wow.
So yeah, it
Okay.
happened real quick.
Okay. So what was the experience like? Tell me about it. Walk us through a regular day at school. What's that like? You arrive at school in the morning. Take us from there.
hmm So Monday through Friday, I teach from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And each morning I have a different elementary class. Me being a specials teacher is what they call it, like art, music, PE, dance. We have to teach all grade levels. And that's
Mhm.
pretty crazy. That's not what I'm used to in the States. When I taught in the States, I studied secondary education in college. So I'm
Okay.
very accustomed to teaching middle school and high school. Um, but yeah, I teach on one day I have a preschool class, the next day I have kindergarten, I have two different second grade classes, and then I have a fifth grade class. So it's this huge age range. And in the afternoon, I teach a middle school class, which is seventh and eighth graders. Then I have a class with freshmen and sophomores, and then a class with juniors and seniors. So in one day, I could teach preschool all the way up to adults.
Okay.
It can be a lot.
What I can imagine. What's the response like to you as a black person there?
It's really nice. Um, I used to be uncomfortable with the way that people would look at me or follow me when I was going shopping. And then I had to catch myself and I realized, oh, the reason why people are looking at me or following me while I'm shopping is because they know that I'm a foreigner and they know that I have money. And like when you go into a store, people follow you around. In the States, that means something totally different.
Mm.
Um, yeah, but out here it's like, oh, this guy, he's actually gonna buy something. I want to make sure that if he has any questions, I want to be there before he asks. And a lot of people think that I'm a soccer player. That's their first guess.
Okay.
Um, in Vietnam, actually, the younger generations love Black culture. Like they listen to hip hop. They do all the like they break dance, all kinds of stuff. So I feel like I've been treated very well as a Black person in
Okay.
Vietnam.
Where in Vietnam are you? Where?
Da Nang.
Oh, Da Nang. Okay. So what's the compensation package like? Is it something that you're like, okay, you're well pleased with, or is it just like not much? What would you
It's
say?
good. It's good. I'm happy.
Okay, so would you encourage other people to move to Vietnam as well?
I would encourage people to come to Vietnam, but you have to be ready to like, you just have to be ready. And I'm sure that you could um, agree with this, like you're really going to a culture that has nothing to do with yours.
Mhm.
And if you're open-minded, if you're really ready to experience something new, it is one of the most beautiful places. I can't recommend it enough, especially Da Nang, because you have just miles and miles of coastline, beautiful crystal clear waters. You
Mhm.
got mountains with monkeys in it, tropical birds, rainforests. Like it's all out here.
What introduced you to that form of music, that genre, etc., the instrument? Walk us through that.
So I started playing viola when I was 10 years old. And I just as a kid, like I always just had was drawn to classical music for whatever random reason.
Mhm.
Usually classically trained musicians have like their parents kind of influence them to join, but me, I just thought it was something cool. Um, I played viola all the way through middle school and high school. And when I got into college, I started getting opportunities to make money playing gigs.
Mhm.
Um, and there's just much more of a demand as a violin player. The viola is like kind of a more obscure instrument. Luckily,
Okay.
the transition from viola to violin was pretty easy. So, in Las Vegas, there's not a huge classical music scene. So I
Mhm.
grew up thinking I was going to be this touring classical musician, but you end up playing with pop artists. I've toured with country bands, Latin bands, rock bands, everything. And it all worked out to my advantage
Mhm.
because it gave me a big set of tools that I can now use. And you can put me in any situation and I know what I'm doing. So didn't intend to be known as a pop violin player, but it's worked out pretty nice for me.
What's the most memorable performance for you?
New Year's Eve, going into 2020, I was playing with Lady Gaga.
Okay.
And it's one of those things, right? You work so hard to achieve your dream. And then you get so used to working that you kind of forget to take time to appreciate it, right? And we've hit this stage with her so many times. It's always a sold out show, but after you see that for like the second time, it just becomes a job. But for some reason, New Year's Eve, it really all hit me. I look up, it's like an arena that seat, or not an arena, but a theater that seats like 6,000 people, and just seeing like everybody standing up and having that feeling like, wow, I actually achieved like something that I always wanted to.
Okay. Okay. So that was a memorable moment for you, right?
Yeah,
Do you feel more appreciated in Vietnam than in the US?
that's a funny question. Yes, I do. It's like yes and no,
Okay.
because in America, people know who I am. Like I have a reputation. So, the gigs that I get are like up there and I'm treated a certain way, but out here, nobody knows who I am. So like I had to start completely over, like start like playing in cafes.
Mhm.
And that was the weirdest thing. Like I had to set like all of, I guess, my pride aside and just accept it for what it was. But yeah, within these, I guess I've been out here playing for like 6 months now, and people recognize me on the street and I've made the news. So it's happened really
Okay.
quick. So I'm starting to create a little buzz.
Okay. 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 How does it feel though, like leaving this recognition and now moving into sort of obscurity in Vietnam? You gotta like almost start over. Like, do you regret the decision? Do you feel like maybe I want to go back? How do you feel about that at this point?
Well, I was ready for something new. Like, as much as I was getting accomplished in Las Vegas, I still didn't feel fulfilled. It's like this
Mhm.
rat race. I remember having a moment where I was driving down the freeway and I see literally the same Rolls Royce, like whoever the CEO is or whatever, like he leaves for work the same time that I do. So I'll see the
Okay.
same Rolls Royce every day. And I was like, man, we both work the same hours, get the same amount of time off. The only difference is his car costs like 1,000
400,000.
times more than mine. Yeah, like so. Yeah, I was ready for something different. You know, and even though I had to start over and give all that up, I believed in myself and I was ready, and I know what I'm capable of. So yeah, it's all starting to come together slowly, and I'm starting to get to where I want to be, and I know I'll get there.
Okay, so you feel like you're on the right track, right?
Definitely.
Do you have a philosophy that you live your life by?
I wouldn't say that one person told me, but just like several different people who I respected have given me similar advice that I could sum into one thing. It's like you could choose to be a follower or choose to be a leader, and you just got to be fearless and like believe in yourself. You know, you can't compare any aspect of your life to other people's.
Mhm.
You know, we're in a world of people all trying to find happiness. So who's one person who's trying to find happiness to tell you how to find happiness? You got to figure that out on your own.
So, what has your black experience been like? Compare and contrast the black experience in America versus in Vietnam.
Oh man, literally and metaphorically, it has been night and day.
Okay.
Um, oh man, I drive out here all the time. I never have to worry about getting pulled over. If anybody profiles me, it's because they assume that I'm wealthy. Um, no matter what I just got done doing, like I could get done playing with an orchestra in the United States and walk into a gas station, and just because of the way that I look, people assume that I'm anything besides a classically trained musician. That's something that I struggle with a lot in the US. Like I'd be touring with pretty well-known country bands. The band that I toured with a lot was Elvis Monroe and Jeff Mix and the Songcards. We do cross-country tours, and you know, I'm the only black guy in the band. And people look at me like, what are you doing here? And all my bandmates are like, dude, like that's the violin player. Like, what are you
Wow.
talking about? Like people would always assume that I'm not that. Um, and out here, it's funny because I've gotten, it's even a weird thing to say, but I've gotten a taste of what it means to be privileged. Things
Mm.
that I would hear about all the time in the US. And it's like, man, like it's crazy. Like I never have to worry about somebody um, thinking that I'm up to no good or wanting to cause me harm. Like I'm viewed as an asset out here. And I don't have to try to prove that.
Okay, okay. What's the biggest lesson you learned since moving to Vietnam? Is there one thing that you've learned that you never thought you would have learned moving there?
Yeah. Open-mindedness, like really being able to set my biases aside and just listen. And I think like timing for that, the fact that I reflect all the time. If COVID didn't happen and I had the opportunity to go back, probably would have gone back and missed out on so much. But I had to stay. Like I really had to stay and figure out how to make myself blend into this culture. You know, I'm a guest. I'm so used to, I guess, this entitled sense of like comfort where, oh yeah, things are supposed to go this way. But for the first time in my life, I'm like, okay, well, how do things go?
Mhm.
And I would have never had that opportunity if to learn that if I didn't come here at this time.
Okay. Any advice for anyone that's looking to move to Vietnam as well?
Yeah, don't come during rainy season
When
because
is that?
rainy season is from like October through January, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a totally different place. That'd be my first thing. It is not a good representation of Vietnam at all. If you come when it's not rainy season, it's absolutely gorgeous. If you plan on traveling back to the States, Plan on bringing back more bags than what you came with, because they have all of the latest fashion and all that stuff for like an unbelievably low price. And just do as much research on the internet that you can about like the area that you're going to stay in and what kind of apartment that you're going to stay in, because some are more modern than others. The standards like are just there's a much wider range of standards than what Westerners are used to. So really do your research before you come, so that you're comfortable.
What do you like the most about Vietnam, and what do you like the least about Vietnam?
I love so much about Vietnam. I love the food. I love the slower pace of life. I love how our money transfers and the fact that my skills are an asset to this place. I'm treated very well. What I don't like, I can't really say anything that I don't like.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
I don't have any complaints.
Do you see yourself moving back to the States anytime soon? It doesn't sound like
No.
it.
No,
Okay.
sir. I'll
Okay.
visit. Vietnam is at this very crucial time where it's just becoming modernized. And as a Westerner, it is this untapped. I still feel like a lot of people have never even considered it as like an opportunity or a possibility. There is so much. They're really working hard to become more developed and compete with like the bigger countries and all that. So yeah, there's a ton of opportunities just coming from a place that's more developed, and you would be surprised.
Okay. Okay. All right. Where can people find you online?
So my Facebook is facebook.com/Rahmaan Phillip, RAHMAAN, and then Phillip, PHILLIP. And my YouTube page is under my name as well, and so is my Instagram.
Guys, if you're watching this, right, remember, if you're a Black person residing in any country across the world, reach out to us, info@blackxjp.com, right? We want to share your story. Again, thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe to our Black Experience Stories channel. The link is in the description down below. Until next time, thank you guys so much for watching. Bye for now.